All right, I think we're a go here again. So, apparently what's happened here is we had a little bit, as I dropped my phone, 1 second. Derek White, Sky Cloud, I think we're back on the air here, so let me get you back, okay? All right. So we had a little bit of a technical snafu, and that's going to be known in this area here. You know, one of those things that we just have to deal with. We just have to deal with. As we are back on the air here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll reconnect with everybody right now. We do apologize. Derek, how are you?
I'm back.
You are back as well. So we got to make sure everybody refreshes here so that way they can regain the signal. If you're on our terrestrial stations, and, you know, we do apologize for that. I'm in a fire zone right now, so I do want to clarify with everybody. I am in a fire zone right now, and there are going to be some technical difficulties that go along because there are crews working on the power. There are crews working on other situations as well. So, you know, I do apologize for the technical difficulty that we had. If you're listening in on Revolution Radio, I do apologize for our feed, and we had a little bit of a technical snafu with everything that is going on here. So, you know, I do apologize, but this is what happens when you're in a fire zone and you're trying to make things happen and make things work, and we're doing our best at it right now. So we're almost wrapped up here on hour number 1. Derek White, Sky Cloud, is with us. We will talk about some ghosts of the Great White North here coming back. We've spent pretty much the first part of the show talking about just everything that is been going on up here in the forest fire area. And I do apologize, especially to our terrestrial stations, WQEE 99 Rock the Key in Noonan, Georgia, and the United Public Radio Network in New Orleans for that. But, you know, it happens, and we need to make sure that everything stays safe and sound while we, you know, make things happen on this end. You know, we're not, because I'm in a fire zone, and I do want to reiterate to people, you know, because we are in a fire zone, we do have to make sure that everything is A-okay with everything. And, you know, I'm going to take this up as, say, something that was a little bit of a technical snafu, probably one of the crews that was working on the lines around here, but as the flies come in around my face now. We're good. We are okay. We're going to hop out for a break here, and then we're going to come back, talk more Ghosts of the Great White North with Derek White, Sky Cloud, right after this. Coming September 29th to October 1st, the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon. Hi, this is Dave Scott. The event will be held at the Spruce Hill Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Come join us for an amazing weekend of speakers talking all things paranormal, UFOs, ghosts, aliens, Sasquatch, intuitiveness. Listen to great speakers like Miriam Delicato, Samantha Mowat, and the crypto guru Ronald Murphy. Get your VIP passes by going to spacedoutradio.com and clicking on the Paracon banner. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
From coast to coast to coast, Blacklight Uncharted is taking on the paranormal across Canada. From ghostly hauntings to the UFOs flying above in conjunction with MUFON Canada, we're closely investigating what's going on in the northern skies and checking out the apparitions that walk among us. Check out our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com. We want to know your thoughts, we want to hear your experiences, and we want you to share your stories. The answers are out there, and we intend to find them.
Would you like to become one of our space travelers? All you have to do is click on the Space Travelers icon at spacedoutradio.com. For only $5 a month, you can get access to some great prizes, as well as private monthly shows, newsletters, and a members-only section on our website. Become a space traveler today.
It's paranormal news at its finest.
Welcome to The Encounter. At SpaceOutRadio.com, The Encounter online is SOR's trusted news source for everything weird and strange going on around the world. This is news editor Eric Markham. Our team of journalists are scouring the planet for those strange stories that rarely make the mainstream. No fear-mongering or fake news here. Head over to SpaceOutRadio.com and encounter The Encounter.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Morin. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Have you had an experience you can't explain? Had a run-in with ghosts, maybe Bigfoot, or seen lights in the sky? Hi, I'm Mike Schmidt from the SOR Sightlines. I'm here to investigate your sighting. Head to spacedoutradio.com and fill out a report on the Sightlines. All your information is 100% confidential, and I will help you figure out what you've been seeing. File your report and let's find out the answers together.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. With their money-back guarantee and the many benefits, how can you afford not to get one? Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com for mind, body, and spirit, and expect a miracle.
Are you interested in advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Head to our website at spacedoutradio.com and click on our advertising tab. There, you will find an assortment of ways you can get your product out there with us, from radio commercials to banners and social media. Have a product you like our hosts to endorse? We can do that too. Visit spacedoutradio.com for more details.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
From British Columbia to Northern California, Pacific North Weird has Cascadia covered. Check out our feature videos at spacedoutradio.com, where I, Vincent Zunza, and my super sleuth partner Alexandra Sullivan track down the weird and strange stories from around the Pacific Northwest. From Bigfoot to Mel's Hole and everything in between. This is what makes life exciting. So why report the normal when we can report the Pacific North Weird right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Oh, there's only one way to rock. Loud and proud. In high definition. Radio 702 rocks. Las Vegas.
Every Saturday and Sunday night, as Dave Scott wanders aimlessly in the wilderness, you can come hang out with me, James Tyson, in Spaced Out Weekend. Starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, I'll take you along as we talk with some of the best experts in their fields. SpacedOutRadio.com is the place to find us, so sit down, relax, put your feet up, enjoy the topics like the paranormal, supernatural, intuitiveness, and so much more. Hope to see you there.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio Live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. And hit us up on Twitter using the hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the second hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the program, we're going to Las Vegas, where I should have been for the last 7 days, hanging out with Jamie Sexton from Rebel Planet News. Jamie will be here talking all things conspiracy, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on the United Public Radio Network on 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world. Good to have you with us and making us part of your day and night. We are also live on KTLK, The Fringe FM, Renegade Talk Radio out of Vegas. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Bill, why? Just why? Thysiastery. Thysiastery is your password. What the hell it is, nobody knows. It's not even in the dictionary, but Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you could do so on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with us live during the show as well. You can give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Find me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. You can also tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. We're also on iHeartRadio in the United States. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for as low as $5 a month. You can also pick yourself up a shirt, a sticker, or even an autograph poster. I'll sign it for you. I don't give away many autographs, but I'll sign that one for you. And so much more. You can read up on the Encounter Online, our news section put together by Everett Thiemer and Eric Markham. Fill out an SOR Sightlines report if you've had anything weird, strange happen to you. We want to know about it, and so much more. Also, check out UFOseekers.com. Tim Doyle, who helped us build and rebuild our website, he's got a section on there as well if you want to see some really cool UFO research videos. Derek White Sky Cloud is with us for Ghosts of the Great White North. The first hour before we got interrupted by service. And, you know, we were thinking about it. It could have been lightning, Derek. It could have been lightning that hit a tower or something that knocked us out. Lightning is not good around here right now. It's really not good. You know, we've had better things happen than a lightning storm right now.
Well, you told me about that lightning hit when you were out in the parking lot. Your truck somehow.
Oh, yeah, that was scary. That one was scary. You know, we had just pulled in to the driveway, and all of a sudden this lightning bolt hit. It felt like it was right over top of us because everything just went bright white. And then within a split second, the thunder came down, and it literally shook the entire vehicle. It was absolutely freaky. I've never been that close to something like that happening before, but that one was eerie. Scary, man, scary. You know, but we got through it. So let's hope that it isn't lightning or whatever it could be. Now, Derek, let's get into some ghosts here, because I'm sure people are sick and tired of me talking about the forest fire.
Ghostly forest fires.
You were at the Bailey House in Merritt, British Columbia, which is about 3 hours south of where I am right now. And tell us about the Bailey House.
It's extremely haunted. The last time we were there, before that, with the other group, we got some stuff, but not like what we got this group. This group, we decided to go a little further, like more research. We stayed longer, and we got results. In fact, one of the ghosts attacked one of our people and got him very sick. And also one of the ghosts pushed over one of our other team members as she's walking through the door, like boom, just nailed her real hard, and she ran and she fell right into my body, like she just got hit real hard. And yeah, we had a few lashing out, angry ones. So it's quite. This is a good one. This time Bailey House, we actually had we did a historical fundraiser for them for the Bailey House. We had 16 people that signed up. Actually, 20 paid, but 16 showed up. And we did the tour. We broke them up in threes. And we used 3 sections of the house, one in the basement, one upstairs, and one in the barn. So I took care of the barn. And we had a lot of activity. It was quite interesting.
You explained that one of the members, actually it's Mike Morin, who was supposed to join us tonight. He actually got attacked. Explain to us what happened there.
It went after him. Like Mike's, we heard him growl. Not Mike. The ghost was growling. We heard him growl, like he that, like just growling, and we got it recorded. And then the spirit said that he was going to hurt someone. He warned everybody ahead of time because I was talking to that spirit, and he says he's going to choose his victims, not just one. And he went after 3 out of the 6 in our group. So one of the girls who is diabetic, Jeff's wife, he even attacked his wife. She got really, really sick after that. Knocked her insulin levels down really low. Also, our other team member, she got ghosted, and it's called shadowing. It actually stood in front of her. His face came out of her face, and he started to appear to me as what he looks like. And I said to Melanie, I said to Mel that, I said, your face is changing. And she said she can feel it. She said, something's different. And I said, yeah, he's stepped in front of you and he's trying to show himself what he looks like. And she said, it makes her feel really weird and cold. And, but for Mike upstairs, he took the brunt of it when he attacked him. And he said he felt like there was hands around his throat trying to choke him. And then Mike started feeling he was going to throw up on the floor in the hallway. And I said, I think you better head outside real quick because I know what it feels like. That it's happened to me before too. And next thing you know, Mike dashed outdoors with Mel, and he wasn't very happy outside. Let her go. And he wasn't feeling very good for a while there. And it also tried to go after Blair and another girl, and pushed her down. Like literally just pushed her chest and knocked her right down in front of me. So it was a good one. And I myself, I know I'm very fortunate I don't get hurt because I do my prayers of protection before I go in. I do prayers of protection before we all start. But because this person, I'm not going to call demon because everybody has a habit of calling things demons. They're not demons. They're just freaking angry. They're angry people that... This guy does not belong to the house, by the way. He's a person that came in with a piece of furniture. And because we found out later from the people that take care of this building that all this furniture does not belong to that building. They actually have been buying this furniture and bringing it in from other houses that were either these are old houses that have been torn down, and some of these houses people have died in. So they just get the furniture and they buy it and they store it, and they'll just change the furniture around the house. So we've got a new guy in that house, and he's scared. And apparently he's scaring one of the female spirits and a child in one of the rooms. So I had to get my mother from Spirit to give me a hand to protect us in the end. He was getting very vicious. So my mother's pretty cool when she gives me a hand from the other side of the world. She's always told me that she'll always take care of me. So I said, Mom, I need your help. We have the spirit box on, and I said, Mom, I need your help. Are you there? And so she I can hear her voice coming through. Yes, son, I'm here. And I said, Mom, I need your help. Okay. And I said, the guys, that's my mom. So yeah, she'll step right in and give a hand, because my mother was like me. She was a psychic as well. And she kicks it up a notch because she won't take no crap from nobody, even under the side. That's the funny part. My mom is so tough. Even her height, she was 5'6", but she wouldn't let nobody talk her down. She was a fighter, even in spirit.
What would cause a spirit in that situation to be so angry? What pissed off this spirit?
Us being in the house, because he kept telling us to leave now, and he always kept on growling. And I remember he got in my face, and he was like, you know how I can see him, and he was coming up at my face. He's going, "Arr!" You know, like that. You know how you look like a lion growl at your face, and he growled at me, and I said, "You don't scare me. You're just a person." I said, "If you're angry, tell us why you're angry." And he wouldn't tell. He wouldn't say a word. He says, I'm not going to talk to you. I said, well, how come you're not talking? You know, I said, you don't belong to this house, do you? Didn't say a word. You know, like we're always questioning him. But even some of our guests that came on the investigation, even they got hit. They got attacked. And made a little 12-year-old girl throw up. She had to run outside. She got sick. I mean, he wasn't kidding. He was serious. He was going after everybody. Anybody he can hurt. And he went after a little girl. And I told him that wasn't fair. You know, you don't have a right to go after a child. She just wants to find out what it's like to experience the other side, and I told him he had no right to hurt her. He didn't say nothing. He just growled. He likes to growl a lot.
Did any of the other spirits in the house try to stick up for the people who were there? Because you guys have investigated there a multitude of times.
Yeah.
And I'm just wondering if any of the other spirits stuck up for you with this guy, or were they intimidated by his strength?
They were, I would say, intimidated by his strength. But see here, one of the bedrooms, that was the main activity. We were in the little kids' room. And we had the child. The girls are sitting all 3 girls are sitting on the floor talking to the child. That was one of the best readings we ever got from with our K2 meter and recorders. A lot of activity, and then the other bedroom itself to the right, down the hall, was the mother. So basically, this is mother and daughter. But again, these 2 people don't belong to the house. It was her. The bed itself, and the dresser belonged to her. That was moved in that room. So when Blair walked in, she just walked right in the door, and as she's heading towards the bed, she got pushed real hard. And if it wasn't for me being there, Blair would have been on the floor. Like, she got pushed real hard, like boom, like just a hard hit. And it was actually the woman who was thinking that, we were interfering, until we explained ourselves that we're here to help her. Mainly what we try to do is we tell them that we're here for the truth. We're here to explain and tell the story while they're there and while we're here. And they appreciate us questioning them. They don't mind us questioning, but you're going to get the odd ghost that doesn't want to hear you. And they're going to really do anything they can to hurt. And if they can't push you downstairs, they'll find a way to choke you. And if you let them get away with it, they'll keep on doing it. So it's pretty crazy sometimes.
It does get a little bit crazy and hectic. I know we've had the same issue with a spirit here at the 108 Mile Ranch named Willie, who in the post house lives in the upper floor. Yeah. And Willie was very, very upset with the tour that we were doing. He didn't like the tour. He didn't want anything to do with the tour. However, his spirit crush, a spirit named Mary, liked the people coming around. So we had to cut a deal with him in order to make sure that he was satisfied in order to do that. Do you think a spirit like this one at the Bailey House would have the same issue where you maybe got to go in there and say, okay, what is it that you want? Because we're not ending the tours, you know. How would you do that?
This guy never wanted to negotiate whatsoever. He wanted us out no matter what. In fact, one of the tin boxes, it looks like the old-fashioned cookie boxes, those big ones, and it was sitting on its side. It's about 2 inches thick, but it was empty and was sitting on top of the highboy in the kitchen. And that tin box was constantly shaking. Like as you walk by, you think, well, maybe it's shaking because we're walking by the dresser, by the highboy. But it's the highboy is solid right into the floor. But yet that box was just literally going constantly, that sound. And it was shaking, and it kept on bouncing all the time. And he was letting us know that he was there. That was the first indication. And even it came up into the our spirit box, and it kept on saying tin. And it kept on saying tin. It even spelt it out, tin. So we knew then it was talking about downstairs, because that tin box is in the kitchen. And he was letting us know. I remember the last time we were there, around 2:30 in the morning, and I said, I guess it's time for us to go now. And the guys were going, no, we're going to stay a little longer. And then all of a sudden I heard this big boom, like you take a baseball bat to a chunk of wood. And it was on the stairs as you're going upstairs, and went boom, real hard. And the guys downstairs going like, yeah, right, you're trying to scare us. And we're in the living room, guys going like, wasn't us. So he was letting them know, like, get the hell out of the house.
The majority of our listeners, myself included, Derek, don't know what the Bailey House is. Could you give us a description of what makes the house so haunted? Why is it a haunted attraction, so on and so forth?
Well, one thing, the Bailey House, actually, what I'd found out, it was just a regular house built by the Bailey family, spelled B-A-I-L-L-I-E, Bailey House. You can actually go on the internet and have a look. Originally, the house was built back in the early or late 1800s, and it never, when the guy built the house, there was no trees, no grass, no flowers, no nothing. It was just dirt. It was just dirt land. And it was one of the original houses that actually helped start the town. It was, and it was a few houses in town, and then the hotel itself, the Clearwater Hotel. But that's pretty well it, and the hotel's around the same age as the house itself, and it's very haunted as well. But the Bailey House, for some reason, I think someone said between 1942 to 1946, it was empty. After the Baileys had passed away, and there was nobody was around the house much, and between 42 and 46, I believe, I could be wrong. So nothing happened in that house. In the meantime, the city of Merritt was going to tear the house down. They're actually, what the city was doing was ready to tear down all of the houses, but they just bought the house and didn't bother doing anything to it until the 1960s. And then a bunch of people got together back in the 1960s and said, we want to save this house as a heritage house. And they fought to keep it. They got the whole town involved, and people donated as much as they can and protested, so to speak, their time and their efforts. And so the town decided to make it to a heritage house. But if you're going to keep this a heritage house, then there has to be some means and ways for it to keep going, because the government, typical town government won't pay for its land tax, or won't pay for all that. So basically, people had to keep on raising funding. So a lot of people became volunteers. Nobody really is actually getting paid to work at these heritage buildings. They're all volunteering their time because they believe that these houses are very, very important, keeping the history. And so there's a lot of ladies who work tirelessly, and they will do shifts, and they will work together as much as they can with each other, and they team up. And it was always, you have your person that's taken care of, that's the head person, the boss, so to speak. But everybody's really nice. And as time went by, when they decided to keep the building as a heritage building, then they decided to put in trees and flowers and grass. Now, one thing I've noticed when I got there, the first time I was there a year ago, there was a big, huge tree in the middle of the yard. And I said, I don't know why, but why do I get this feeling there's two people buried under this tree? And nobody said nothing. And another medium came down, apparently, and he said the same thing. He said that I get this feeling there's two people buried under this tree. So he found out later that many years ago, back in the 60s, somebody had buried two people under the ground, next to this little tiny tree, so to speak. And they buried their body or their ashes in the ground next to this little tiny tree, I guess like a memorial thing. But as years went by, this tree became a very big tree, but you could still feel the energy off the tree. It's like there's an energy that comes off the tree trunk itself. And I put my hand on the tree and I could feel human, like I could feel the human feelings. And I'm thinking, somebody died here or they buried them there. And because you could just feel the energy. Trees really give off a beautiful energy. And like a life force, so to speak. So, it was confirmed that there's two people that were buried there. But nobody, and I thought to myself, maybe those people that are buried there are the ones that are actually in the house. No, nobody. Those two never, I even used my dowsing tool, and they're not around. They're actually, they have crossed over. There's no attachment to that house. So they're not the ones that are actually coming in. Because I thought, well, maybe it's somebody that's there, that's passed, that's coming in. There's only one person that's attached to the building that had lived there for many, many years, and he became a blacksmith. But he's not. His spirit is not haunting inside the house. His spirit actually haunts the blacksmith barn because all his tools are in there. And I had when I had my crew with me, not my own personal crew, we had our visitors that were there, and one of the visitors actually was a student to the man that actually was the ghost. When he used to be a school teacher and he used to teach shop to the kids in school back in the 60s. And so she knows, and she I guess it's kind of funny, but his ghost was in the barn, and she said she saw him standing in his shadow from a distance in the corner. She said she saw him standing there waving at her saying, I remember you. So it was kind of cool.
How many spirits are in that house?
Oh, I would say a good half dozen.
Can you define, besides the angry one, can you define the spirits for us?
The angry one, he likes to occupy upstairs mostly. That's his territory. Upstairs to the stairs themselves. The female is upstairs, the child is upstairs, possibly two kids. That's the 4. The main floor is a woman, and one downstairs, again, grumpy. There's another guy who's very grumpy, and that's where it used to be the coal bin or the broiler room. And the guys would say they had a lot of activity down there. In fact, they got touched a lot. And in fact, one of our crew went down there by themselves to see what would happen, and they said nothing happened. But again, there was somebody there earlier that was touched, so it may have calmed down. What happens at times that when you start going back and forth so often that even the ghosts get bored. They don't want to work with you no more or talk to you. But like, I'm tired of this. You guys keep on coming in, and you just thought, they get upset and they go like, we're not talking. So it gets quiet after. But if you start off in the very beginning with people, then they're going to get mostly the activity. But when it starts to get, you start staying there longer and longer and longer, it starts to thin out. And that's why some of the ghosts will start to get really pissed at you. They're like, get out. I'm tired of seeing you. Go away. So I think this one here that's upstairs, he's mean. He's really mean. And Mike, I would say Mike challenged him a little bit. Just try to let him know that, you're human, you're still living. And I told Mike, he can't hurt you. And like he threatened to kill Mike. And I said, he can't kill you. And so, Mike didn't say, I dare you. He just said, who are you? He was just asking simple questions. And then he decided to be intolerant with Mike, and he went and started choking him. Mike can describe that to you, and what it felt like when you get a chance to talk to him. But when I watched him in the dark, and when I watched him, we were investigating, he said it felt like a pair of hands around his throat trying to choke him. He couldn't breathe. Like literally, he could not breathe. He was trying to get away from that feeling. And he, like his hands, even his own hands were on his neck, trying to stop him from choking him. And he thought he was going to throw up. Like it felt like he was going to throw up. Like he really tried to go after him. And then if he couldn't get after Mike, and then he'd go after somebody else. And
let's clarify there for a second, Derek, that Mike Morin is a seasoned veteran investigator who protects himself with prayer and other things to protect himself from this type of stuff happening. I think it really, really shows the potential danger that can actually get into, hunting spirit, if you want to call it that.
We go in with great respect because we're professionals. I've been doing this for over 30 years. And I've had some really nasty ones where actually one possessed one of my people. And it took them over. Their eyes turned jet black. And but it's been a lot of years since I've seen that sort of thing happen. But with Mike, he just finished work. Or just finished leaving there, and then he heads home. He's working for the last couple of days since he got back, and all of a sudden he feels he's had himself some heat stroke. My wife said to me today, she says, you need to smudge yourself. And I said, why? And she says, you need to smudge yourself. She was repeating me, you need some prayers. You need to do some prayers on smudging yourself. And I said, okay, because I couldn't figure why I was so constantly yawning and so tired, like I want to sleep. And it didn't make any sense. And so I went out front, and I took my condor feather. I've got a condor. The feather's even bigger than eagle. But I was given that gift from Machu Picchu, and I was told to use the feather and to pray with the Aztec masters or Aztec leaders, the ancestors. So I worked with them, and I cleansed my house. But as often as when I was starting to cleanse my house, smudge my place and myself, my hair was standing up on my arms. And when I start feeling that hair standing up, that means there was somebody trying to attach themselves to me. And I did tell the guys to tell that ghost not to follow us home. And I got a funny feeling that somebody may not have said something, and it followed him home, and now it's carrying on, making him sick.
So you don't think he's fully recovered from that yet?
I don't think
that's the cause?
He's fully recovered. I think it's still going after him. Yeah. Mike's he's not a weak link. Mike knows what he's doing. He's smart. But this ghost is like I said, he's if you don't tell them to stay where they belong, they're not welcome to come with you. Now, that early morning when we left, everybody was in a hurry to leave. I already did my prayers. And I never did ask Mike if he did his prayers before he left, because these guys worked until 4 a.m. transferring files into the laptop, and nobody could sleep all night. No one could sleep all night. My wife said that she woke up at 5:30 in the morning, and she was doing prayers all night with our ancestors to help protect everybody. She said that she woke up, and she says that her guides told her that she had to pray for everybody because some people didn't listen to what I told them, and they just didn't pay attention, and all of a sudden they all said they could not sleep until after 5 in the morning. And then when they finally did get to sleep, then they all basically got up, maybe lucky if they had 3 hours sleep, because everybody had to head home suddenly. And yet I couldn't sleep. But for some reason, I was not tired. I was fine. I was wide awake. But when I got home and I saw my best friends that just came in, they just came into the camp and campground. And so I stopped by to have a chat with them. And then I went back home. And my wife said we were going to have a barbecue with them. So we went up there and I had a bite to eat. And after I ate, probably not even half an hour, all of a sudden my eyes start to feel like I want to sleep, which makes sense because you're tired. I was fine the next day, but as of today, I felt so exhausted, which is I'm thinking, I don't have any blood sugar issues. Why am I feeling like I want to sleep? Like just really, really sleep. And I couldn't figure that out. And so I went and laid down today and for an hour and talked to Spirit and worked with them. And then my wife came in the house. She says, you're going to have to smudge. I could feel it. You have to smudge. So I had to do the whole house and myself, and I'm fine now. But I had to do my prayers. So I think what Mike's got to do is a reminder for everybody. You know, any of you guys ever do any paranormal investigations, it's going to take Mike a couple of days to recoup because it's trying to make him sick and keep him there. And Mike will recoup because I told him what to do. But there was a time that I got attacked so badly that I ended up having to... I threw up so badly that I couldn't stop, and I was white as a ghost, so to speak. I was pure white. My skin was pure white. I looked in the mirror, and then when I sat down on the couch at one of my friend's houses I was staying at one time, I was on traveling, and I was sitting there, and I saw a vision of myself dead sitting upright on his couch. I thought, I got to head to the hospital. So I got up because I didn't have enough enzymes in my system to really build my blood sugar back in. So I raced down to the hospital, and they put a bottle of saline into me. And then before I did that, I took a lot of charcoal tablets to get rid of the poison if there's any poison in me. At the same time, when I was trying to get my body back into action, I was freaking out on a nurse because I had a bucket in my hand and I was throwing up black stuff, so she thought I was a devil worshiper or something, that something was not good. I freaked her out. She was scared of me. It was funny, but she was just thinking about it, but it was funny. But I recovered by taking my G2 drink, and I was good within the next couple of days. But like I really don't want to see any of our teammates hurt. You know, like this is a dangerous job. It's not something that you want to be in glam. I mean, people say, "Oh, I want to be on TV," or "I want to do this, I want to do that," or "I want to find what it's like to investigate." It looks exciting, but it is dangerous, guys. I'm telling you, if you're trying to tell a story, it's like being an archaeologist in a brand new, in an old building. You go walk into these caves, you walk into these tombs. It's a dangerous job, and when you try something out and you haven't to find out what it's like, you're gonna you learn lessons, and you have to learn the hard way. So it does happen.
Derek, when you get sick or you get attacked by a spirit like this, how long can it go on for?
It can go on for a couple of days. Myself, what I do is when I get home, my wife will, if it gets so bad for me, if I go through the sickness, I'll run home and I get my wife to prep my bath ahead of my time, and she puts medicines in the tub for me and that I use, and I jump in the tub and she'll soak the towel and she'll run it over take the whole towel, leave it on my back, which is soaked with the medicines, and she starts to pray over me, and I do my prayer to get rid of it and to get it out, because pure salt, spirits cannot stay attached to you. They're so afraid. The salt is pure, and so it's, but it's not just salt. There's other medicines mixed. By the time I'm done with the prayer and the cleansing, and when I'm out of the tub, my whole body, and then I'll close my eyes for a couple hours, and when I wake up, I feel like I just was reborn. like my whole body inside is cleaned out. It's like your spirit's pure again, back clean. And Mike's going to have to go through that himself.
Now, Ron wants to know, do you have or are you currently holding something now as protection as you speak on the air?
Yeah, I have my fire agate. I carry a fire agate with me all the time when I do my work. But when I'm there on location, I take my rosary with me because this rosary came into my path, not by a church. It came my path. I was flying home on a plane, just finished doing a conference, a paranormal conference. And that night before I left, I asked Spirit for give me some message or guidance to let me know I'm doing a good enough job. And as I'm sitting at the seat of my plane coming home, I saw a rosary land at my feet and right into my lap. And there's nobody in the plane but me. So when I got home, I looked at it and I thought, oh, this is interesting. But the rosary itself, the words written on it looks like a red, cherry red. It's actually called redwood, the rosary. And the cross on itself says Medagudie, which actually it's a Slavic word. It means it's actually in Yugoslavia, in Croatia. There's actually a village called Medagudie where the Christ Mother Mary is there's a statue of her, and people go there. They'll come from all across the world to get healed by her, and her statue is always crying, and she blesses people to heal people. But when I got this rosary, it's called an apport, Apport, and it came from the other side of the spirit world. And how I know that, because I talked to a lady friend of mine who actually has been a medium for 60 years, and she told me on the phone, she says, it's called, Derek, you had an apport sent to you because you asked for help, and they sent it to you. And I was quite thrilled. So she says that you're supposed to carry that with you and to basically have faith, the fact they're always watching over you. And I've always believed that. So whenever I carry the rosary with me, it's always in my pocket or in my hand if I have to deal with something that's very difficult to deal with.
Do you believe then that this is a good reason why people going into an investigation really need to take the whole protection seriously?
They do. People don't realize how difficult it can be, when you're going through an investigation. They think it's so simple to go into a building and investigate. You can walk into something and say, oh, I got something here, but you're not really communicating. You're just chatting back and forth. When you get something that's trying to attack you or trying to even growl or say words, and you can hear them whispering in your ear, like literally whisper in your ear or go, ha, to you, you're going to jump. I don't care. You could be the best medium in the world. You're going to jump. And it's going to scare the living crap out of you or startle you. And, even one time when Mike and I were in the Barkerville, we were in the Barkerville Hotel, just him and I, we had the camera on us sitting on the counter. And I was standing there and I was talking to a spirit, and the spirit walked right through my back out through the front, and Mike walked towards me and he saw it come out of my face and startled the hell out of him. And he's like, whoa. Like, he says, you should have seen that. He walked right out of you, and I could feel it. But you could be the best paranormal investigator in the world. If these spirits want to come through and get your attention, they're going to do it. They'll even if they throw something down, if they can't throw something down, they make noise. If you can't make noise, they'll try and hurt you. And that's the last thing they'll try and do.
When you're dealing with spirit, and like we do the tour up here, and we forewarn people, we actually make people take and sign waivers before they take the tour, just in case something like this happens. How much can you actually protect a person, Derek? Especially, let's say, if they're a non-believer or they're someone who is skeptical, for that matter, in trying to figure out, what the reality is behind paranormal hauntings.
We had a gentleman who was an elder, and I would say he's maybe late 60s, maybe 70s. And he came with, I think, one of his family members. I think it was maybe his wife, and the wife came, and he came, and she said that she believed in this, and he says, I don't believe in this. So he wanted to find out what his experience would be. Like, he was like, right. The funny part of it is, she didn't get enough of the experience, but guess who got the experience? He did. It scared the living hell out of him. Put him in his place. He says, no. Then he was trying to... This is so funny, this guy, and Mike can tell you this. The guy was trying to come up with a logical answer why it was trying to attack him. And he thinks, oh, just my imagination. Maybe I was just making it up. You just experienced a ghost coming after you, touching your shoulder, touching you, grabbing you by the arm. There's nobody there, or even breathing on you, or growling at you, and you say, well, just your imagination? Really? You know, first of all, they say they believed it, and then they turn around, well, maybe it's just my imagination. Like, he was trying to say, I want to escape from this, I really don't want to believe in it, right? And they're going to come across people like that. They're going to actually say, I deny, then I accept, then I deny. Because they're afraid that somebody else is going to actually say, oh, you know, you're crazy. So they try to protect their image by not having to acknowledge that there are ghosts. The thing is, society doesn't realize that we have ghosts on this earth for thousands of years, and they'll always keep on walking this earth for thousands of years. Some will cross over into the light, others don't. They prefer not to. And you could be the best rescue medium in the world, so to speak, and a lot of spirits, ghosts, don't want to go to the light because they prefer to stay because they enjoy being where they are. You can try and help send them over, and if they're not going to go, you can say, oh, come and get you. Your ancestors are coming to come and get you. No, they don't want to go because they love to haunt. That's their fun. They enjoy doing it. And I get discouraged when I see people that are trying to say, I'm a rescue medium. I used to do that too. But it's not going to do you any good, because if you send all those spirits over to the crossroads light, that means your house is not haunted no more. So don't go there. Right? You can't clean up the whole world. There's always going to be a negative somewhere that you have to learn lessons from. That's why spirits are put here for a reason, to teach us lessons. And we will one day, all of us, one day, become a ghost. We may not cross over to the spirit world. We may decide to stay just because we want to just piss somebody off.
Is that something that we should be doing, is crossing more spirits over into the light?
No, I don't.
Who would do that?
I've come across a few people that think that they're like archangels, or they work with archangels, or they think they should help them cross over. And, you know, if the spirit tells you they don't want to go, then why are you pushing them? You know, and how do you know they're going to cross into the light? You'll know, you know, like there was a young lady that I know. She was bothered by a ghost in this restaurant. And it kept on following her all the time. And but then later on, it started to do things in the kitchen and scaring people and startling people and that sort of thing. So we cornered the ghost upstairs. We found out where the ghost came from. It was from upstairs. But the ghost herself, many years ago, found out later that she committed suicide in the restaurant. So, but she had a liking to this girl because the girl to her looked like a mother or a woman that she once knew, but she stuck with her. In the meantime, the ghost walked into her and took her over and became her. And all she wanted was help. Like, her version of help was she wanted help that someone could love her, not someone to help her cross over, because she didn't understand God. To her, God didn't exist. She never had God in her life. She was just a person who was trying to live, trying to survive, and she had a broken heart, and she committed suicide. Some guy broke her heart, and she died in the bathroom. So we helped her cross over with a group of people that I was with, and we did a rescue medium. I did my work with her, but I got her to learn how to help her cross over. And it was recorded, and it was on YouTube. And someone that we know that was once on our team, that we were part of another team, took everything all out and erased it all. So I'm no longer seen by any of those investigations on YouTube any longer. But you have to go by my own word now. And the girl now is no longer haunted, bothered, scared. And the restaurant now is completely clean of all things. So yeah, it's all changed. It's back to what is normal. But again, you're going to find the odd person. You're going to find someone that wants to get the help, and there's going to be some people that don't want to.
Right. How do you know when a spirit is ready to cross over, though? Like you mentioned about forcing spirits to go. I'm not sure how that quite works. But for those spirits who do want to go, how do you know when they're ready?
They tell you. They don't know what to do. They don't know where to go. So you are, first of all, what I do is I call for one of their family members that's crossed over to open the veil. And I ask the Christ Mother Mary to open the veil to help me assist. And I could see the veil. And some people will feel the feeling of it. There's actually witnesses that are there. They said they could feel this emotion, this energy that's opening up. And the veil is actually the other side. And then I would guide that person who's in spirit to help her to make contact with her loved one that she loved most. And that person will come forward and take her by the hand, hear her or him by the hand, and walk them in. And after that's done, then I ask them to close the veil. And that's what they do. And sometimes they'll even go through me they'll actually take me over, and I become that walker for that person. And mostly it's always a child. And so I'll go out, I have people that are by my side, and I'll pass right out. And I said, guys, I'm going down. And next thing you know, I'm walking this child in my arms to its grandmother. And then the grandmother would say to me, and I'll see the light. I can see this beautiful light right behind her, and I'm staring at it, so to speak. And she says, you can't come in. I said, I know. She says, thank you. And then next thing you know, she walks in, and I begin to open my eyes. And as I go and open my eyes, everybody's looking at me. Time has gone by for half an hour, and I had no idea how far has gone by. That's how long sometimes it can take to get that child across.
Is it an emotional state to do that?
It is emotional because even for me, it makes me feel good to see a child safe, its spirit cross over. A lot of times the children, that when they do cross over, they don't know that their mother or father or someone they know has passed away. And a lot of times too, when mothers that lose their child, a mother will say out loud, don't leave me, don't leave me. And they'll mourn the child, the loss of the child. So the child is in spirit saying, Mommy, I won't leave you. And that child sticks around. Meantime, that mother's still mourning. So that child's trying to say, Mommy, I'm here. Mommy, I'm here. And then she has to learn to let that child go, because there is family that'll come and take them away and help them cross over. I had a woman that dealt with that. She lost her child through SIDS. And so it happened to me where I helped her son cross over. And but after her son crossed over, she saw her son. I ran a ceremony for her, and she said that she saw. We had a blanket on the ground, and she said both of us witnessed a beautiful light, an outline of her child laying on his back on the blanket, and both of us seen it, both her mother and myself. And I said, your son wants to. You can't just hang on to your son forever. So you have to let him go so your mom can take care of him. And she goes, I know. I said, you want your mom to take care of him? She goes, yes. So I said, okay, fine. Then I walked, I said, no, I told the little guy, I reached out to him and I said, I'll go with you and I'll take you to your grandmother. And that's what I did.
Wow.
And after I came back, I opened my eyes. And she held my hand. She says, thank you so much. She says, I feel better now. So it can be emotional. But she knew her son was safe. She knew her son was okay. But some people, Some of the women take it very, very, very hard to lose a child because, you don't like to lose your child first before your life. And they take it really, really hard.
I got a question from Bill here in the SOR Space Travelers Club. He is asking, do you have to be a believer to be protected?
No.
No. I'll get to the second part of that question then.
Yeah.
He says, if the protection is valid and real, shouldn't everyone who is offered protection be safe?
We had one of our team members not believe God. And they thought that they could do this on their own, and they're the ones that always get sick all the time. And I said, you're going to have to stop doing this, because if you keep on getting sick, you're just going to get worse to the point that you're going to end up getting hurt, to the point that, it's not going to work anymore. We won't be a team professionally. He wouldn't listen. So I said, you're going to have to trust what I do, and he didn't. No, I don't believe that. Okay, fine, whatever. It's your decision. So, he moved on. But there are people that I know that thought they didn't believe in God until they witnessed it for the very first time for themselves, that what they had seen that happened to them. And once they learn that experience, they will, once they have I'm not going to say intervention, but when they have an appearance of something that had nothing to do with a flashlight, and that person showed themselves to them, that made them think, made them change their way of thinking. And I've had my share of it. I've had my angelic interventions constantly through the years, and people that were witnesses to see me being carried by an angel. There was a lady, wasn't sure what to believe. Her husband passed away, and I was in Vancouver, and I did a reading for her. And then her stairs, like the stairs, the houses in Vancouver, they're very old, and the ones, they don't have any basements. Their basement is considered as like level floor, and then their main floor is, as you go up the stairs, quite high. And the landing of it actually is all made of 2x10s and 2x12s. And what happened was, it was in the winter time, and I wear cowboy boots as usual, as you know. And there's a part of it where when I about to step down, I had a briefcase in my hand because all my stuff was inside. But when I stepped down on the next step, and she said, be really careful, don't slip. And I said, I'm okay. And then as I stepped down, I did slip on the ice. And I was going to go straight out, like as in feet up, head back. Suddenly I felt both my arms come up, and I was carried straight out across the yard, and it was like about 20 feet from the stairs. I was carried straight out to the front of the gate, and I landed on my feet with my briefcase still in my hand. Wow. I turned around and I looked up, and I went, whoa. And she says, oh, and her hands were on her face. She goes, oh my God. She said, I saw 2 angels fly you down to your feet.
Nice. Derek, I'm going to get you to hold on right now, because we are going to be going to our second break of the night, and I want you to continue that story afterwards. In hour number 3 with Derek White Sky Cloud on Ghosts of the Great White North, we are going to get into what makes northern British Columbia so haunted. Because it's haunted up here, people. Very haunted, and I wish all of you could have the experience of coming on up here to see how haunted it truly is. But we're going to get into that and more. Ghosts of the Great White North is a feature we do on Spaced Out Radio the third Wednesday of every month, so we hope you're enjoying it. And Mike Morin, we're giving you a shout out tonight. We know you're feeling sick, maybe because of that attachment you took home from this weekend's investigation, but keep well, buddy. We'll talk to you very, very soon as well. We'll be right back with more Spaced Out Radio, hour number 3, coming up right after this. Looking for a great weekend getaway this fall? Hi there, this is Dave Scott. Come on up to the heart of British Columbia for the first annual Spaced Out Radio Caribou Paracon, being held at the Spruce Hills Spa and Resort in 108 Mile Ranch, British Columbia. Speakers from all over North America are coming to discuss Bigfoot, UFOs, ghosts, and intuitiveness for the 3-day event, September 29th to October 1st. For more information, go to spacedoutradio.com and click on the Caribou Paracon banner and book your tickets today. Come to BC, where the paranormal is waiting for you.
The SOR Sightlines is a place for you to find answers to your strange experiences. Hi there, this is Mike Schmidt. If you have had an encounter with ghosts, UFOs, Bigfoot, ETs, or anything else that doesn't make sense, head to spacedoutradio.com and file a Sightlines report. All information you give is 100% confidential, and I will personally help you find the answers you need. SOR Sightlines, your answers are a click away.
Have you got your Cosmic Passport? If you need one, tune in to Cosmic Passport on Spaced Out Weekend. This is Elizabeth Anglin, ET experiencer, spirit medium, and host of Cosmic Passport. Each weekend I'll be bringing you interviews and support from other paranormal experiencers, and the best in intuitive spiritual guidance from across the globe. It's all happening starting at 9 p.m. Pacific Time, midnight Eastern, on spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, I'm Butch Witkowski, lead investigator with U4COP. On the final Monday of every month, you can listen to me and host Dave Scott on Spaced Out Radio's Strange Days. We're going to get to the heart of the matter when it comes to what's happening out there. People are seeing and experiencing things from ET contact to Bigfoot, and I want to hear about it. Your experiences are what we investigators need to help solve these unknown mysteries. So tune in at spacedoutradio.com to the final Monday of every month from Butch Witkowski's Strange Days.
This is your medium, Joanna, from Spaced Out Weekend, 2 mediums and a large. I would love it if you would come and join us with host James Tyson every other Sunday on Spaced Out Weekend. Together, we will take your calls and your questions live. Our goal is to provide you with a positive outlook on deep questions that you may have. Questions regarding love, relationships, money, or whatever else is on your mind. Come and check us out at spacedoutradio.com.
This is Eric Markham, news editor for the Spaced Out Radio's The Encounter Online. We have put together a great team of writers and journalists from all over the world to bring you top-quality paranormal stories, from alien encounters to the latest conspiracies. You won't find any of that fake news here. True stories and top-notch reporting as we look to bring these experiences to the mainstream. The Encounter Online, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Patrolling the Pacific Northwest, we are always on the lookout for the strange and unassuming stories that real people are experiencing. Hi, I'm Vincent Zunza from Pacific North Weird. Me and Alexandra Sullivan have teamed to bring to you those odd stories that never seem to make it into the mainstream. Stories so weird that will leave you scratching your head wondering, is this real? It's as real as it gets with Pacific North Weird. You can watch our videos right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Become more intimate and interactive with Spaced Out Radio. Join our Space Travelers Club with your new membership. For $5 a month, we'll provide you with special access to the website, monthly prize draws from books to psychic readings, along with monthly newsletter, private interviews, and more. Sign up today to be part of Spaced Out Radio's experience.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Don't have time to listen to Spaced Out Radio live? Wherever you are, the car, the office, the shower, or even if you're traveling, we're right here for you. Each Spaced Out Radio show can be found on iTunes, TuneIn, and on our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. It's the perfect way for you to catch up on our shows. For more information, just head over to our website, spacedoutradio.com, and tune in to us today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Strange creatures lurking in the night, the sounds of wood knocking in the forest, odd happenings right out of a fictional world. These are the reports I love. Hi there, this is author Ronald Murphy, and I would love it if you join me and Spaced Out Radio host Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month on our journey into the unknown land of cryptozoology at spacedoutradio.com. From Mothman to Frogman and everything in between. Hey, they don't call me the crypto guru for nothing.
Did you know that Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi, it's James Tyson from Spaced Out Weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday night, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, you can join me and my guests for some great chatter about what's going on out in the universe, or even in that dark part of the basement you really don't want to go back into. Well, let's find the answers to your experiences together. So come on up to Uncle Jimbo's cabin on the weekend. For more information, look us up at spacedoutradio.com.
The views and opinions expressed by tonight's guest and topic of discussion do not necessarily represent the official policy or position of Spaced Out Radio, Spaced Out Weekend, Spaced Out Radio Limited, its hosts, syndicated carriers, or anyone associated with this broadcast. You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and hashtag Spaced Out Radio, and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Now, back to the program.
100.
Welcome back to the final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Good to have you with us. How you all doing? Tomorrow night on the program, starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, we got Jamie Sexton coming in from Rebel Planet News down in Las Vegas. We're going to talk all things conspiratorial starting at 9 o'clock. And, of course, everything can be heard at spacedoutradio.com. We want to welcome in everyone listening in on WQEE 99 Rock the Key down in Noonan, Georgia, home of The Walking Dead. We are also live on Renegade Talk Radio out of Las Vegas, the United Public Radio Network, 107.7 FM in New Orleans and over 160 countries around the world, KTLK, the Fringe FM. And if you're listening in on Revolution Radio, remember the Double R Machine is a donation station financed by you, the valued listener. Head on over to freedomslips.com and donate today. Bill Cardwell has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Thysiastery. Thysiastery is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as Bill sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Now, if you want to follow us on social media, you can do so on Twitter, at Spaced Out Radio. Use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio if you want to connect with me live during the show as well. Give our Facebook page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. Follow me on Instagram, Dave Scott, SOR. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, Spaced Out Radio Show. Tune us in on TuneIn. Download this show and others on iTunes. We're also on iHeartRadio in the United States, RadioGuide.fm, Player.fm, TuneIn, and Stitcher. And our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including joining the SOR Space Travelers Club for $5 a month. You can also check out our Spaced Out Radio store. Learn more on our UFO adventures from UFO seekers Tim Doyle. Read up on the encounter online from Everett Thiemer and Eric Markham, our news editors, bringing the news to you, and so much more. Tonight, we have Ghosts of the Great White North going on. Filling in for Mike Morin is Derek White Sky Cloud, because Mike might be dealing with heat stroke, or he actually might be dealing with spiritual attachment from last weekend's investigation at the Bailey House in Merritt, British Columbia. Derek, welcome back.
I am. Yeah, it's possible. It could be both.
Could be both.
Could be both.
Absolutely. So, Derek, right before the break, we were talking about moving spirits on, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. And, you know, really, it's up to the spirit whether or not they want to go. What keeps a spirit attached to a home, a property, or maybe an object like a chair or a doll?
Possessions. A lot of people don't like giving up their possessions. You They always people say you can't take your possessions with you, but there are people out there that are so solely attached to something they love most, even jewelry. And I've seen jewelry become very possessed, where people would wear it. I'll give you guys an example. You guys ever been to a secondhand store, right?
Absolutely,
okay.
Absolutely.
So say you're trying on a shirt or trying on a coat, or even trying on a pair of shoes, and you're thinking to yourself, something weird about this coat. Like when you wear it, go like, ooh, I'm not sure if I feel right about this. You look in the mirror and you go like, I liked what it looked like when I'm looking at it, but when I wore it, go like, ugh, it feels weird. It's because that person's energy is on it, whether they're living or dead. And we all have that energy. So what I always tell people, if you're going to go, say, shopping for secondhand goods, and when you're done, like I say, you're going to buy something, it's always good to cleanse your clothes. Now, I'm not talking about actually using detergent first, but do a prayer of cleansing and ask the spirits to help cleanse the energy and remove the energy of that person's residual energy that was once on that attachment, because that's how I can find missing people, is by picking up the residue of their energy, residual energy, from that material. And that's how we become so connected to materials or to items. And no matter if it's even a clock or a pair of glasses or even a doll. And if a child is solely connected to that doll, and say a child became very sick and that child died, that sometimes the parents, what they'll do is they'll make a death doll. And they'll take, traditionally it used to be where they take the eyebrows and the eyelashes and the hair from their baby, from their young child, and they would transfer it over to a ceramic head of a child, of that child, and try to make it look like a replica of that baby. And then that's what they call a death doll, and they'll keep that as for keepsake. Meantime, people that have these death dolls, later on through the years, they no longer, as the woman gets older in her old age, she has that doll in the case in reminder of her child. Meantime, she passes away, and this ceramic doll now is in the cabinet. Someone's going to take it out, and they'll give it to somebody else, and they think it's a doll for a child. In the meantime, they start getting bad feelings from that doll, because that doll is no longer with its parent, or the energy of that doll. Now it's with another family, and that's where it gets really different in the house. And we had an incident with that happened in Quesnel in the museum. That very same doll that's in a cabinet there is called a death doll. And things are happening to children even when they look at it. They get close to it, it makes them scared and sick. And it happened to me when I was 12 years old, where my sister got this doll from a store where my dad gave it to her. Little did my parents know, it actually was a death doll. And it didn't bother my sister. That was, as far as she's concerned, she loved it. But at nighttime, when I looked at it, it would turn its head slightly towards me and look at me. And I always felt creeped out. So I get up in the middle of the night and take the doll and put it in the top drawer of her dresser, thinking, that, and she didn't hear me put in the dresser. And I go back to bed. Within a matter of a couple of minutes, I hear click, click, and I turn around and look at the dresser, and that doll's back up on top of the dresser. And I look back at my sister, and she's sound asleep. So think about it, guys. This is not even a Chucky movie.
Yes, don't bring up dolls. They scare me as much as gnomes do, man. And you were talking about Mandy the haunted doll there. And, I remember when I was up there with you guys looking at Mandy. And yeah. Mandy is just creepy. Just creepy. It's hard to believe a famous haunted doll like that is in a little town just north of us.
And that doll actually possessed Mike.
No, Glenn.
No, not just Glenn. Mike too.
Yeah, and Mike too. That's right.
That doll made Mike walk out of the building and walk out into the middle of the street and get hit by a car. He had no consciousness of that. He was actually even possessed. Hypnotized. Mike was walking in the middle of traffic, waiting for a car to hit him. That's what happened to him. And
Poor Mikey is just getting hit left, right, and center here.
Yeah, we're banging on pipes and everything to get his attention, to get him to open his eyes. And he opened his eyes and go like, what the hell am I doing here? And he comes back into the building. Oh yeah, he never even knew. He never even knew that he was possessed. That they took him.
Wow.
Yeah, when he opened his eyes in the middle of this road, like, what the hell am I doing here? We didn't put you there. That doll did. But how many people have been possessed by that doll? Right? How many people actually took a chance and see what would happen to them?
Gloria has a question for you, and she is asking, Derek, what do you think about how many people in clergy think that the entity that appears is actually evil?
Appears where?
I don't know how to pronounce the word. So a lot of people, I guess, I'll rephrase the question. How many people and clergy believe entities that appear are actually evil?
There is a group of people that are Catholics, Catholic priests, that are trained to be exorcists. And their exorcism is not just of people, but exorcism of also possessions. Like we mentioned about the doll, that can happen as well, those possessions. And just people don't realize that those things do exist. Some clergies but there are special ones that are trained. Not every priest knows how to deal with hauntings. In fact, a lot of priests don't want to even talk about it. If there is a person who's dealt with hauntings in their home and they get a hold of their local priest or a minister, that minister will close the door on them and say, I don't want to talk about it, you're on your own. They're not trained like they used to be. It used to be years ago that every priest knew actually something about possessions. But it's become to the point now where they don't want to... whatever happened on TV or whatever happened through any congregation of church or clergy, for some reason, nobody wants to be responsible for helping people from being possessed or helping people from getting rid of a ghost. It just doesn't happen anymore. It's very little. When it does happen, they've got some really great people out there that are across the border that are able to do the work, but you seldom have come across anybody here locally, here in Canada. People are very afraid, and then they'll always say, it's just your imagination. Here, take a drug. And I had a client here just 2 days ago. Not 2 days ago, yesterday. She came to see me, and she dealt with a possession that has been trying to possess her for the last 25 years. And this man that's passed away won't leave her alone. Like every time she's trying to have her go into a relationship to meet someone, he keeps screwing it up by having to attack that person. She doesn't do nothing. The guys get very sick suddenly and they run away because he doesn't want her to come anywhere near. He doesn't want no man, to come near her, because as far as he's concerned, he owns her and he's in spirit. He's passed away.
Let's move to the province of British Columbia. You have investigated all over, north, south, east, west, onto Vancouver Island and back.
Yeah.
What makes British Columbia so haunted, in your opinion?
It's history. Mainly a lot of ghosts, historically, it relates mostly to the Gold Rush Trail, Gold Rush time period. And a lot of possessions or hauntings are all to do with the Gold Rush. There are so many people that are so caught up in that time, 1850s, 1860s, with the gold rush, and I guess the fight for property, territory, ownership of value of something. Everybody's doing, like they always say, they had the big gold rush fever. People will fight and they will kill for gold. I mean, that was how bad it was back then, those years. And many people were murdered. Not as much in Canada as it was in the States. A lot of in the States were a lot of lawlessness, but in Canada we had, before the RCMP showed up, there was some lawlessness. But most of the time, if there was ever any murders that took place, it was actually on the trails, on the way leaving whether it's Barkerville or Likely or anywhere there's a gold mine of gold mining. That's where most of the time you would hear stories of someone go missing, and they say, "Oh, that means that person was on someone's gold too close to their landmark." And so, what these guys do that own the territory of that landmark, to protect it, sometimes they don't even ask questions; they just kill you anyways. So, and there's no law up in some of the areas. Even to this day, there's no law that protects you. So, there are guys out there to this day still protect the land, protect their gold territory. So you really have to be a quick talker to make sure that you're not going to steal something, convincing them.
And that's a very good point. I mean, the Gold Rush Trail goes from California straight up to the Klondike and Alaska, and there is a lot of death along that trail. Out of British Columbia, when you take the trail, and you've been all over this province, how much of it do you think has truly been investigated?
I'll tell you, very little of it. A lot of it, they call it legend. Or they'll tell a story, like, legend where there's a story. Or, anytime that you ever hear of a true story, it has to be pretty well registered with the RCMP or with a registry under a specific, whatever someone had done. And we'll use 108 Mile House as an example. I mean, basically, McGee or McPhee, I think her name is. Now, it's apparently she was supposed to have killed over 60 gold rush miners. But they called it a legend. And yet, when I was upstairs in that one building with our crew at the time, she took possession of me, and she was so angry that the guys were upstairs in that room. And so, for some reason, that was her room, her bedroom, her whatever it was that she had there, that was her territory, and she was mad that some people were there. So we used fake gold as to pay attention, to get her attention, to see what she would do. But when I was working through her, listening to her, and feeling her energy, she was more angry that the guys that were in the room, not as much to having to worry about where that gold was, whether she believed it was pyrite or not. The fact is that she was mad the fact there was anybody there, because she's still connected to the land. She's still connected to the ranch. She hasn't left it as far as she's concerned, because to her, that's where she made her money. White slavery, there's prostitution. That's how she made her income, and she was a tough woman. But that's how they survived back then. The only way a woman could make a living was through brothels. And but that was considered as a respectful job. It was not considered as you bad person, you actually were a prostitute. Women, that my mother called it's one of the oldest occupations that a woman had for hundreds of years. It was considered respectable, and because women were not allowed to have a job unless they were bakers or they were doing laundry or cleaning someone's house. That's pretty well it. But they were never making enough money. Prostitution was it was a bigger amount of money, because as long as you got something that guys want, that's pretty well what they were offering. And so in Barkerville, they had what you call the hurdy-gurdies, and all these ladies were actually German that showed up, but they never called them prostitutes. They called them hurdy-gurdies because that was a German name. And all the women, again, then, at that time, were all well respected. The men never disrespected the woman. In fact, the woman made more money, and she was well respected by the men of the town, until the women started getting more involved. The wives, that when men took wives, and they thought, wait a minute here, now if this woman has not married anyone, then what is she doing here? So they were trying so hard to shut her down. But what she decided to do is she decided to become an actress. And this is the lady who was the head of the hurdy-gurdy people. She was decided to get into acting. And so she befriended a lot of the women that, first of all, were trying to get rid of her. And she befriended them to the point where they weren't getting rid of her. She still stuck around. But she got into investing into land and in the gold. So they couldn't get her to leave. But she worked hard to wherever she was getting in her life. And the cool part was I was able to make contact with her in spirit at the Royal Theatre when we investigated that place. So the town, yes, folks, the town of Barkerville is very haunted. And the cool part of it is people get to dress up time period clothing in the summertime between May and September. But we didn't go there we did go there in the midsummer too, but to really investigate the place very well, we took advantage of the off season, so we had time to ourselves to go through it. But there was a lot of activity from a lot of the spirits. So again, we're going to be going back there with our new team and re-revise and see what we can come up with, because we were in too much of a hurry the last time. This time we could take our time and enjoy more history. And I never had a chance to really go through any of the graveyards at the time I was there, because you have so many houses to go to. Oh my God, there were so many houses. And more have been brought in since then, and we haven't explored those either. They're moving a lot of these old pioneer heritage houses now into the towns to extend it. So it's what they're doing is trying to extend the town, make it more pioneering. But yet these are the same houses. They're not new houses. They're old. They're the old houses. You just move them further in, and these houses still have activity. You know, you can move it off the land, and the house will still have activity. It doesn't make any difference.
Derek, Ron brings up a good point here, and I'm curious to get your opinion. We seem to have a lot of spiritual activity along the Gold Rush Trail. Do you think it's because gold is a very good conductor of electricity and spiritual discord?
It is. Gold is one of the major conductors, and also it's considered called a cell memory. It's a cell memory of the time period. And a lot of people were, again, protecting their property. The property was the main importance. I mean, when you own gold, they thought you were like way above importance. That's the main thing. And if I said I owned a mine or a piece of land, I would probably have a half dozen women all over me. If I would, if you're single, a half dozen women all over you, like, can I be your friend? And they would stick around. And as long as you brought the gold in, you had fun. But when Billy Barker, he was the kind of guy who likes to give his gold away, and he always loved the ladies, and he always gambled it a lot, but he gave it away a lot to people that say, I owe you, but they never paid him back, and he died poor. He died a poor man, but because he was so good. He was the one that started Barkerville. He created that town, but he tried his darndest. Now, does his ghost walk the land? I don't think so. I think Billy Barker, I've never felt him around. I was hoping that maybe he was part of it, but not him. No, but everyone else, as far as other divisions of ghosts, spirits, most of them are minors. And also a female. And she was part of the hurdy-gurdy. That's pretty well it. That's one of the most interesting ones that I've ever come across.
I've been as far away as Barkerville as you guys, and, it is quite the hike from Vancouver. It's literally about an 8-hour drive from Vancouver north, and it is a long push. It is a long drive, a beautiful drive nonetheless, but still long. What do you think is above there in regards to paranormal activity? Because everybody seems to focus as north on Barkerville, but you've actually traveled higher. How much haunted is it when you go further than the Barkerville area?
Well, the Barkervilles actually were further up, just above the hill. I mean, there's no drive through. You got to go to the very top of the hill, which is I can't remember the town was, but it was a small village, and actually there was a courthouse. That's where everyone went to court. If you had to settle a dispute, you went to court. If you had to if you dealt with someone who killed someone, that's where the courthouse was. And we were very fortunate. I played one of the jurors. They have people reenact the court cases and actors, and then they get the public to represent the jurors. So I became a juror for the very first time, but a time period juror. And basically my answer was guilty or not guilty. They tell the story the way it was said, and these people reenact their role as that person who was being prosecuted. And you had to make a decision. And you know what? It is a very big responsibility to even judge someone's death, if they should be executed or imprisoned. And you think about it, and we had a couple of kids. These are 10, 12-year-olds having to make a decision. These kids thought, seriously, they thought that this guy that was on the stand, that he really was going to be executed. And one little girl was crying. She says, "No, we're not going to hang him." Well, you said he's going to get hanged. No, I said, "No, we weren't going to hang him. This is just an act." But it did happen in the past, and she had a hard time dealing with it. But I guess they wanted to let people know that this thing really did happen. But it was interesting to experience it. But then we went back to the courthouse, and we went and did the investigation in the dark. And again, Mike and myself, apparently I got taken over by someone in the judge's room. Not the juror's room, but in the judge room, and I guess in the office. And I guess I got took over. And Mike walked in, and he got freaked out, seeing me playing cards in the dark. And he said, "Oh my God!" Like he just apparently, I saw the film, and he was like freaked out seeing me. I looked up. Apparently, he said I looked up at him, and he said I looked like somebody else. It freaked him. My eyes apparently scared him. So, again, if you're not used to it and you're in the dark, you can startle yourself. But you know what? This young man, Mike, he's one of my very good friends, and even though he's got a few years' experience behind him because he's a president of our other organization, spiritual organization, but paranormal organization. But he still, I give my life for him. I'd do anything for this young man because he's so good at what he does, and he's smart. He's not a cocky young man. Like I've met a few that, I can do this, I can do that. No, he's very good at what he does, and if he doesn't know, he'll always look it up. And what I enjoy working with our new team is that we work together so well, and we have fun. I mean, I'm telling you, there's no backstabbing, there's no insulting each other. It's fun. Like you're going to enjoy yourself, and we always watch each other's back. And that's one thing I've always felt was important, that we always took care of each other and watch each other's back. And if something goes wrong, we're making sure that we make sure our partners are safe, and as well as the people that we work with on our team, we make sure they're safe. So.
Do you believe then, Derek, as you head further north in British Columbia, or even head to Vancouver Island, where you have investigated as well, that, I mean, there's a lot of water in this province. Vancouver Island, of course, surrounded by the ocean, and the further north you go, you have the power and the energy of the Fraser River, combined that with literally thousands upon thousands of lakes across the province. How much does water play a part in the spiritual activity around the province?
Water is a conduit for sure. I mean, it's one of its role plays. It's a positive energy. It's pure. It can activate, not negativity, but it can activate an open source. You'll see a lot of people, whenever you see more paranormal activities, there's always you're always going to come across water somewhere. Like it'll be a lake or, something that's moving very quickly. And then there's some areas you don't have as much paranormal activity, and it's going to take it's harder for a source. Like, for my example, you'll always hear the stories of psychics drinking lots of water when they're doing readings. And it's because you got to have water in your system to help the body flush itself to make the connection, because water is a major conduit. But if you are surrounded by water, especially the island, it's very sensitive. I mean, I go to the island at least once a month. When I do drum classes, I teach drums. I teach people how to make their own drums. And when I'm there, I look forward to being on the ferry because the energy is pure. The energy, like when you're on that boat, on that ferry, it's absolute pure energy. It's like you're so immersed in it. It's like you can breathe it. That's why when I left Alberta, when I left Alberta to move here, but at first I wasn't trying to move here. I was coming up here staying with when my wife was my girlfriend then, and she asked me to come up here and try it out. I really did not want to move to BC because I lived in Alberta, but she said, "Well, give it a try." She says, "I'll give you a return ticket. If you don't like it, you can go back to Alberta." And I said, okay. So I'm on the plane, and when I got here, about to come for landing, I could smell the sea air coming through the air vents. And I could smell the sea air, and my nose is just like, wow, like this. And the first thing came out of my head was, I'm home. And I never looked back. In fact, I went back only once to get my furniture from Alberta, and never went back. And I've had people say to me, Derek, we can offer you work to move to, come to Alberta, come back to Alberta, move here, we'll pay you well. And I'm going like, no, because the energy in Alberta or any other province is not the same as what I do here. I find that this BC or Ontario are one of the most highest active spiritual provinces in the Canada. Spiritual as in so actively high energy. And anybody who lives here long enough will understand. If you lived in one province and then you moved from another province to here, and you'll understand even more, saying like, why do I feel home? That you're at home. It's because it's welcoming you here for a reason. It's because you're going through a brand new awakening and purity. Like basically your body, your spirit is going through absolute transitional change. And since I've been here, yes, the province could be the most expensive. BC could be one of the most expensive living provinces in the world. It's like being in Vegas. I don't care. To me, this is home, and I would never cut this down and say, no, I got to leave the province because I can't afford it. No, I won't. I will stay. I'll fight to stay here because it's one of the most beautiful provinces to live in. And it's very positive. And everyone here in BC, there's more spiritual beings living in BC than pretty well any other province in Canada. But I got friends that are, I'm not saying nobody else is spiritual, but there's way more spiritual people so open here than pretty well almost any other province because if you come here, you'll feel the conduit of energy is so positive. It comes from the salt air, the salt water, because salt is so pure. I always tell people, if you ever want to feel really cleansed, take a walk down to the beach, say White Rock or in Stanley Park, whatever. Take off your shoes and walk in the shallow end of the water, and just stand there for a while. Go to Kitts, wherever. Just stand there in the water, and you're going to start noticing you're going to feel more grounded than anything else. And you'll never look back to it again. Like you'll never want to go back home. You just feel like you want to stay there forever.
Not me, man. I read an article in the Vancouver Sun today about the 14 sharks that are around BC's waters, and great whites are moving in.
Well,
there are great whites starting to move into this territory as the water starts to warm. So that's why I moved to the mountains. There's no bloody sharks up here.
Yes, they got Sharknadoes up there.
No, I'm not buying that crap. Not buying that crap whatsoever. But the whole point is there is absolutely no sharks up here, so I am safe. I don't do the ocean, man. I'm a meal.
There's property sharks, there's card sharks.
Sure there is. But I would sooner take my chances with them than a 19-foot great white. That's for sure. Let's not even get into that. Don't even start with me. You'll give me nightmares. You'll give me nightmares.
I'm going to tell you a story. This is true. When I saw Jaws when I was a kid, I went to the theater and watched Jaws, and the next day I was going to go to the pool for a swim. I was so scared to jump into a swimming pool for fear a shark would get me. I paranoid myself out so badly. I'm looking into the pool hoping there's no shark there.
I know that feeling. All too well. Although, you know what I'm looking forward to? Eric Markham, our resident preacher, he is a diver, and he likes to go do diving along North Carolina. And they actually, when they will dive at an area where there's actually megalodon teeth that are by the plenty to find. So when he finally goes diving, he's going to get me a couple of megalodon teeth. So I think that would be a good addition to...
Until he finds a live megalodon swimming up to him like Chomp.
Yeah. I still think that one's real. I don't know why. I still think, out of all the extinct cryptids out there, I still think that one is real. I just have this feeling.
Yeah.
Maybe it's my own fear, but that's okay. That's okay. Derek, when you come across a new territory, like in northern British Columbia or Vancouver Island, where there hasn't been anybody investigating, because let's face it, across the province, there's maybe a dozen paranormal teams, maybe as high as 20, but there aren't a lot.
Yeah.
When you go into these locations that have never been investigated, do the ghosts know what you are doing? Do they understand?
Not know the history of the house until the new owner discovered the hidden wall, and it was actually in a closet. And I was very fortunate. I said to the guy, "There's something here telling me that this room actually is hiding." I kept hearing someone saying this room is hiding. And he goes like, "No, there's no room here." I said, "Yes, there is. You have a hidden room." And I said, "Can we take the things off the shelves in this closet? Is it possible? I really feel that we need to have a look." And this is like 10 years ago. And he said, "Okay." So we took all the goods, like all the tin cans and stuff off the shelf in the closet. It was a deep closet. And then I slid the shelves out, and I did some bang, bang, bang on the wall, so to speak. And I saw this board, like I guess back of the wall, somehow jiggled a bit. So then I saw this hole. It looked like a piece of wood. It apparently was part of the shelf. And I grabbed that, both sides, and I pulled on it. And it came right out. And there was a room, a little staircase, going upstairs into this little tiny room that he did not know. And the guy lived there for 25 years, didn't even know it was there. And in there were items. There were soup bowls and chopsticks and clothing in this room that still existed. And we couldn't figure why this house was so bloody haunted, but anybody's ever been in the house kept saying, I can hear Japanese, or I can hear Asian people talking, and yet the guy living in the house is white, right? So we found an old book, and it was actually some of the I guess the family was reading English and or learning how to speak or learn English, and it was very, very old English, like Dick and Jane book there. And so he decided to do research on this room and found out that the original owner, I guess a family member, came over. They invited him over. I waited for about a month. I didn't get no answer from him until about a month later. And he told me that the relatives, apparently the person used to hide the Japanese, and they didn't know where the Japanese were hidden. But he used to help them hide them so they wouldn't have to go to the camps on the island. And so they had the freedom to walk around the house at nighttime, but they had to be held in this room in the daytime. so they couldn't come out. And even if the guy went on vacation, they were not allowed to come out of the room. And they had to be very, very careful not to be seen or heard. It was quite interesting. But that we found out later the ghost in the house was a guy that was Japanese. He died in that room.
So, Derek, when you come to that virgin territory that has never been discussed, are the spirits or ghosts caught off guard that you were noticing them or communicating with them?
Actually, you know what? I'll be honest with you. Yeah, sometimes they're actually shocked. Like thing, I've actually had a few ghosts saying, "You can hear me," or "You can see me," and yeah. There are a couple, not many, just a couple. And one was actually a child that used to was really surprised that I could see her. You know what? Here's the funny thing. Anytime you see a child that's in spirit, it's always a girl. Hardly a boy. It's always a girl. And most of the time, it's always a girl. And if they pass away, it's mostly consumption. What we call a flute virus that can never be cured. And they would die of consumption. And that's, and the funny thing, like I said before, like the mother would say, "Don't leave me," or they're so sad. The child, its spirit will still hang around the place. It's just amazes me. I've started doing more research now, finding that there's more girls than there's boys that are hanging around the houses when they pass away. It's because of their parents.
But when you're in a fresh location, let's say an old barn or an old house that has been abandoned and hasn't been looked into for years, and all of a sudden you communicate with a spirit that hasn't talked to, say, another human being in, let's say, a century, maybe more. How do they react? Are they puzzled by who you are or what you are?
Here's one, and I think when you talk about a barn, we did an investigation, or I did an investigation, oh my God, now, how many years is that now? 1995, 96. I had to go to this barn, or this farm, outside of Abbotsford, Aldergrove, Abbotsford area. And we went into the barn, and the barn actually, the people have had the barn for like 20, 30 years. But they never used it. They never bothered going into it because they didn't have any animals. But they had this chunk of land, and they kept saying they can hear voices crying out from this barn. And like there's, first you can hear laughter, not laughter, you can hear crying, and then you can hear something like an echo of something being hit. And then you can hear you walk in there and you can hear this screeching of something rubbing on a piece of wood. So I walked in there, and we were in there at nighttime, and because it was locked up, and the woman couldn't open the barn door because it was locked. Her father wasn't coming home until late at night, so we got there and he finally opened the door. Then he went in the house. He didn't want to be there, and we went in the barn and we found a haystack. And so I pulled the hay back, some of the bales back, and here was an old car in there, like an antique, a 1955 Buick, all covered in hay and straw. And there was a blanket on top of it, like a couple blankets. So he pulled it off, and the more I got excited to see what it was, the car itself was exciting because the lady's going like, "Oh, now here's an antique. Nobody even knew about it." Her father never even knew it was there when she told him after. So, anyways, they found out they did a license plate. They found out who it belonged to, the previous owners. It was two families before that, apparently in the 1940s or 50s, and apparently this car was owned by one of the owners who actually hung himself. And instead of them getting rid of his car, because apparently they can hear this crying and screaming, and he hung himself, found out later all the people that were in the car, his kids, his wife, were asphyxiated with exhaust. And he hung himself in the barn. But the story was never carried on, talked about after that.
Wow.
So what we did, what we had to do, I called my friend down, and we actually did some major cleansing, and to help the kids cross over, the family cross over. And because the rope, there's a slight piece of rope still hanging from the ceiling that was part of his hanging rope. So we cut that off, and we burned it, and to help him send him off. And that was quite an adventure, because I got photographs of the orbs in the barn, and not dust. I mean, literally, I'm talking about major white lights. If you guys want to go in there, have a look at my page, go to whiteskycloud.com, and you look under ghost spirits and things, you'll see the barn, the three ladies standing in front of it, and you'll see the orbs all over. And this is basically because everybody's was trying to get our attention to say, I think the lady, it was 3 kids or 4 kids that were were asphyxiated, and the wife was asphyxiated in the car. And I guess apparently he just asphyxiated them, and then after they died, I guess he hung himself, and then when they found him, nobody apparently said they wanted to move the car or say nothing or do nothing, so they didn't take the car out. They took out the bodies, took his body, and then they put the hay bales right back in the corner and covered up the car and left it at that. And so they did the research, found out later from the families previously before said that they had the same sounds come from the barn, and they creeped them out. They didn't want to even touch the car. In fact, they were thinking about selling it, and every time they were trying to sell it, nobody wanted to buy it.
Wow.
So, yeah.
I just want to update you on Mike Morin here. Eric Cooper from Forest Moon Paranormal, he has his key remote viewer working on a gentleman named Tony working on Mike Morin right now, and apparently it is the spirit still attached to them. So Tony is trying to remove that, and so is Eric right now. So we are working with Mike as we speak.
Good. Oh, this is going to be a tough one. Mike got hit really, really hard.
I got to, as we move on, because we only got about 6 minutes left with you, Derek. Ron has a question here. He's saying, cities keep building over old history, sometimes lost to new growth. Does this ever cause disruptions, causing strange activity? And if so, in what ways?
I'll tell you parts of it. I'm originally from Manitoba, and Manitoba is considered one of the most haunted provinces in Canada. I mean, very, very haunted, because it's been around since the 1600s. And every time they knock down an old building, put a brand new one in there, and the hauntings are absolutely freaking crazy, because when the new building starts, when they finish putting in the brand new building, and when new people move in, it's freaking them out because they're hearing all kinds of activity. And then they're looking for people like us to take care of it. And my friends are constantly busy all the time now. We get the same thing happening in Westminster since the prison was changed into condos a few years back. And also now it's getting surrounded by high rises, what's left of it, at the graveyard, the prison graveyard. And now they're covering and they're not digging up the bodies and moving them. They're actually going to cover over with them the bodies of the prisoners with concrete and putting a building on top of it. Good luck, boys. And so that's going to be a haunting in itself. So, because 3/4 of the men that were actually executed were all First Nations men, and most of them were chiefs. And because they were trying to protect the territory they were living on. So a lot of these executions were actually entirely illegal back in the 1860s.
So when you build, let's say, a high-rise on what used to be an old plantation or something along those lines, do the spirits then invade that building? Like, do they know they're invading the building, or are they just maybe stuck to the land, and because that new structure is built on the land, that they are sticking around to, stay on their own land, so to speak.
My friend Ralph, when he was alive, Ralph's passed away since then, a really good friend of mine, and Ralph was a medium. When he went to Coquitlam, he was asked to come out to Coquitlam, and he did this house, and they asked him to come out because he kept on getting a lot of paranormal activity. So he went out there, and he kept feeling that there's a lot of major, like even the sidewalk itself, the whole path there was just nothing but majorly haunted, and anger energy. And the lady was telling him that the house is brand new, the land's okay, there's no burial site there, just everything's fine, but they're getting a lot of bad paranormal activity, things being thrown out of the closets, all the things in the kitchen getting broken, just very, very bad. So he looked around, he felt a strong energy on the sidewalk, the very front sidewalk, and he thought, okay. So he asked the lady if they actually asked her if she actually had a gooseneck, and so she went to the garage and found one, and he asked her, he wants to turn this sidewalk over, and if he says everything was fine, we'll just put it back where it was, and she has no problem. So he turned it, and he flipped it over, he wiped it off, and it was a headstone from a grave site. And he thought to himself, I wonder. So he flipped every piece of sidewalk. There's 25 headstones that he found that he flipped backwards. And they're all come from a cemetery just up the road that the government had dug up all the bodies. And some of them they did not dig up. They just took the headstones and sold them face down in an auction and telling everybody that they're just sidewalks. So whoever this person was, the owner, bought the so-called concrete sidewalks and installed them in front of his house. Once they were removed, then the activity went away. It quieted down. Whenever anybody builds anything on a burial site, you're going to get a lot of activity. I mean, it just won't stop because that's called sacred ground. And because you're considered as a place of rest, for the spirits. Doesn't mean that their physical body is at rest, but the spirit still, what it has left of its own air territory is what they call their own. And if anything's placed on top of it, to them they think it's intrusion, and they're trying to protect it, and they're angry. How come? What's this doing here? And so people get disruptions in their home or in their apartment or business, you name it. And that's exactly what happens. And it happens quite often. I hear so many stories of people, they'll dig up a burial site and they'll move the bodies and they'll put in condos or houses, whatever have you. There's one in Vancouver, or one in Calgary off Deerfoot Trail that they split the cemetery in half, made it and put a highway straight through it. And years ago, they said they've seen a woman in blue standing at the side of the road waiting to be picked up by a car, and she stand there, and then when they let her in, she sits in the back seat, and by the time they get to a certain amount of blocks, then she's no longer in the back seat. So that happens.
Derek, we only got a couple minutes left here with you. You're someone who goes around looking to help people spiritually, psychically, as well as looking for paranormal investigation. What do you enjoy the most?
When I'm doing the readings, I do readings for people, help them in their journey. Myself as being a medium, I help make contact with their loved ones, and as well as help them in their future, what they're dealing with. And I've been doing a lot more work now internationally. With clients from all over the world. It's getting more and more busier now than ever before, and it's because there's more things happening out in the world that more people are actually looking for help. So I enjoy helping people, give them their guidance and the path that they're on, and to see what they can do for themselves. So, and I also enjoy my paranormal work to help people through and to make contact. And I'm looking forward to getting out there and just keep on going with what I'm doing, and then also work in our Métis community as a traditional counselor. So we talk about our Métis history, and I'm actually one of the traditional cultural directors of our council. So I teach Métis history to the kids in schools. So I do so many things. I'm just a guy out there and out in the community. And then I was up in Burns Lake at a traditional camp for a week, 10 days, and getting back to nature again. Living my teepee for a week. and that was good. Just making traditional foods and just enjoying nature in itself. At the same time, out there I'm helping the community because they were looking for a counselor, and I get to spend time with them. And they take a sit down with me, and it's not by the hour, it's by the time, just whatever they put in. It's just was all as long as they need help.
Absolutely, buddy. Hey, give us your website once again in case people want to visit you.
They want to find me, whiteskycloud.com, WHITESKYCLOUD.com. Just have me look up my site, and I'm also on Facebook. If anybody wants to make a friend on Facebook, ask. I don't mind. I can update them on all the things I'm going to, and a big shout out to my good friend Mike and making sure he's doing fine.
Absolutely. Derek, you hold on. I'm going to wrap this thing up. If you're listening in the background, you hear Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking away. The little brother is watching. Bumblefoot brings us in and takes us home every single night right here on the mighty SOR. Tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time, Jamie Sexton is back with Rebel Planet News. We do this show with Jamie the third Thursday of every month as he comes and joins us from Sin City, yes, Las Vegas. How I love why aren't I there right now? But 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern Time at spaceoutradio.com is when we get going. We want to thank all of you for tuning us all in tonight. Much love and much appreciation for everything that you do, sharing this show, posting it on your Twitter accounts, putting it all over social media, and telling people individually that this is the nighttime and where you want to be. I love it. Just keep it on up. I muchly appreciate the guidance because we're doing this together. We're getting bigger. We're getting stronger. I want to thank our guest tonight, Derek White Sky Cloud, for filling in for Mike Morin on Ghosts of the Great White North. It happens the third Wednesday of every month. Next month, Mike will be back with us. We'll pick out another paranormal team from across Canada to join us. It'll be a lot of fun indeed. My friends, we'll do this all in 21 hours from now. I appreciate you taking the time. I'll be here, will you? Because together, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, take us home.